In terms of energy efficiency or green building, everyone wants to be in a more energy efficient home, and every builder wants to communicate how they're building an efficient home. Where the problems come into place is most of the language isn't quantified.
Living with autoimmunity doesn't mean settling for less. Inspired Living with Autoimmunity is the show for high achievers who want the energy and vitality to live fully, not just manage symptoms. With your host and autoimmune coach, Julie Houghton. It's time to take your power back.
Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Julie. Looking forward to the conversation.
I am as well. I would love to know, I'm sort of a curious, it's a good thing I'm not a cat. I would love to know how EcoBuilt was born or just how you got to be doing what you're doing now, because it's such a needed field and service and even just the education. But I'm guessing this isn't what you were doing years and years ago?
No, I got into it a little bit different than most home builders or developers per se. I've been in business for almost 25 years, but EcoBuilt is a company. Our company is specializing in a type of house called passive house. And it is the best sustainable home that I often refer to as a type of home that doesn't only drop our energy bills or the cost of operation of the home down to an absolute minimum, where the cost for all heating and cooling, regardless of where anyone may be living across different climate zones, but also apart from energy, the healthiest home that you can live in, which is ultimately what was involved behind the birth of EcoBuilt. But EcoBuilt's been around for about 10 years. Our company originally started as a timber frame company.
Okay.
I was a high school teacher before I decided to venture off into business. So my professional career was started in the classroom when I was young and 23 years old. But ultimately, this is what caused the switch for me. It was at the time where I had a full-time career, thought it was best to go out and buy a house and start a life. And when I went into every home, I went into new homes, existing homes, and neither home really felt healthy to me. I come from a health background. My mother's a doctor. I went to school for kinesiology.
Okay.
And so health is really top of mind. I played a lot of sports growing up too. And I really always felt my best when I was in good physical condition. And going into houses that just didn't feel right. New homes, new homes felt, or obviously were more energy efficient, but there was something to do with the air quality that just didn't feel clean to me. And older homes, ironically, had much better air quality feeling, but lacked
other issues,
efficiency.
Yeah,
quite a bit. So I thought, at the time, the best house to build was a log home or a timber frame home, a house that really focused on natural materials, so resulting in healthy indoor air quality. But approximately 10 years into the log home business, which would have brought us to around the 2012 to 2015 range, we ran into a big problem with respect to energy efficiency. Log homes cost a lot of money to heat and cool. So we ultimately revisited the question at that point in time, what's the best sustainable home? Looked at all the construction models out there. And when I stumbled across Passive House and learned not only how energy efficient homes can be built, but also the health protections that the construction model had in place, I was sold. And health protections, meaning we're talking about a house that is protected against moisture. And moisture is the number one enemy when we're dealing with any type of home. There's a lot of moisture in construction materials. If homes and buildings aren't built properly to be vapor open and dissipate moisture that might be either accumulating in the building envelope, or just simply moisture there from the construction materials themselves.
Sure.
Homes need to be allowed to dissipate this moisture. And what's great about having a house model that can dissipate the moisture is it's a house that theoretically can last an infinite amount of time, because what causes most homes to deteriorate is the moisture. But moisture leads to a whole bunch of problems. Mold is the biggest one. There's a lot of studies out. New homes today being built, over 25% of homes experience some type of mold, where we can't see it, of course, in the wall cavity or the roof cavity because of a moisture problem.
Wow. That's a huge number. And I want to touch on underscore two things. One is that, yeah, this idea, I think there's an expectation of older homes to have mold or have had mold, but that new homes are kind of almost worse. Really, I have my own theories. I've built a few houses, for homes, and the more I learn, yeah, I think my next one will for sure be EcoBuilt. But so that, I think, is right off the bat. People do tend to think if it's a newer build, mold is not even something they need to consider. And the other is that mold is everywhere. I mean, when I moved to Colorado 25 years ago, we were told by realtors, "Oh no, mold's not a problem. You'll appreciate this." There was a home we were looking at, and we wanted to get it inspected. It was a stucco home, and we were moving from South Florida, and so we wanted to make sure that there wasn't mold, and they really didn't want us to do it for which always, if someone doesn't want you to inspect, then you should run anyway. But that was when we were told, "Oh, it's Colorado, there is no mold here." And sure enough, we didn't buy that home. Their system was not installed properly, and they did have a moisture problem with their stucco home. So I don't think it really matters where you are. I know of people in Arizona dealing with mold. Like, there is no such thing as it's too dry for mold. So I just want everybody to lean in, and we kind of all think like, "Oh, not us," right? So
No, for sure. We had a recent customer come on board from the western part of the United States, Idaho, I believe, and they went through a bit of a discovery process, just kind of in line with what you're communicating. And ultimately, the biggest misconception in new homes is that a new home is a healthier home.
yeah,
And this one family in particular, they were in an older home, didn't feel right, thought it might be the house, went out and bought a newer home. It wasn't brand new, a couple years old. And when they moved into the new home is when they found out they had some health problems, mainly the mother in the situation. Her name is Rebecca, and she discovered she had chronic inflammatory response syndrome,
yeah,
known as SIRS. So she had spoke to a number of people what could be happening in her house. She was led to a test called the Hertz Me 2 test, which is ultimately a dust swab test. And
Gotcha.
they found out there were 3 different types of mold in the home. She was diagnosed with the chronic inflammatory response syndrome, and that led her on a path to really find out the reasons why her house was unhealthy, and finding out a best home she could build for her family is what led her to us. So finding out the moisture protections, ultimately she found out the reasons why EcoBuilt was created to solve
Gotcha.
this health problem. And unfortunately, the building code, we can't hold builders responsible that have been building the same type of houses over a number of years. The building code is responsible. The building code is ultimately designed to prevent a roof from falling down over our heads. So
Right.
designed according to snow loads or seismic loading, wind loading that the
Yeah.
house might experience, but really ignores our health. And when we think about where we spend 90% of our time is indoors. Doesn't matter where we
Right.
live. 90 to 95% even, we're inside, and we need to be in a healthy environment if we want to optimize our health.
Right.
And health in general is sometimes we do the research, right? And we think food, eating a certain way, water, supplements are the answer to improving our general health. But if we're not in an environment where our
Yes.
bodies can restore and thrive, there's
Yeah.
going to be health issues.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I was so excited to learn more about EcoBuilt is that there almost seems, and I was listening to a conversation yesterday that had nothing to do with houses, but terminology, and I'm going to ask you to define a few things for us, because I think that different things mean something different to different people, right? And so when I think of like eco-friendly, it may be using lower energy, but it might be not great for health. So they don't always play hand in hand, and so that's why I got so excited about what you're doing, because you're really like taking care of the whole picture. So I want to start with like, can you define for us like what are passive houses?
So passive houses are homes that come with a high degree of airtightness. They are homes that have a lot of thermal envelope protection, so a lot of insulation, and are based around balanced ventilation. So a home that is really there to protect ourselves, and a home that really does protect with the airtightness and the indoor air quality protection. So a fresh air machine is part of every passive house, but a fresh air machine. So the benefit of a fresh air machine in an airtight envelope is we can instantly be in an environment that we do control. Having that airtight membrane is not going to let any toxins in from the outside of the home. It's important to recognize that outside air is only healthy 25% of the time, approximately.
Gotcha.
There's
Okay.
always it's either too cold, too hot, too dry, too humid. And important, it's good to naturally ventilate the home if the outdoor air quality is good. But if the outdoor air quality is not good, we should all have homes where we can shut those windows and really dictate the environment that we are in. And passive house ultimately optimizes that. When I say balanced ventilation, that
Yes.
means ultimately a system that is providing as much fresh air to the home and that is exhausting the stale air at the same time.
And that's the key. And I think one of, at least my experience with, as you mentioned, building codes, you know, because newer homes are almost airtight or tighter, to me, it becomes even more important. What is the quality of the air in the home, right? Like, I don't want to seal up a moldy home. And so I think, whereas people can have conversations, and I know from experience, with their contractor, if they don't, the contractor is not well informed, as you are, those things are just foreign, right? Like they know they just have to pass certain tests and they think they did their job well. And so I really was hooked when I was reading about how you guys really you make sure that the ventilation is key and that you can bring clean air in and also get the stale air out. So that sold me right away. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh yes, but like an average builder is ultimately familiar with the building code, but not necessarily familiar with building science. We
Right.
do, we try to do our part and educate and make people aware of
Yeah.
obviously how to build a healthy home, but this is the biggest piece of the puzzle. Getting educated and becoming aware of potential problems in the home. We do have a list of builder questions on our podcast page, ecobuilt.com/podcast. Anyone who's listening can jump onto our podcast webpage and download a list of builder questions for, ultimately for
Yeah.
anyone that's building or thinking of building into the future. When you're interviewing builders, these are questions that you really want to ask. How is my home moisture protected? How am I going to ensure I'm breathing clean, fresh air and not being in an environment that's going to hold toxins? And
Yeah.
this is really the biggest piece. A lot of builders, sometimes conventional builders will question what we're doing and argue, how can you build an airtight home and still have a healthy home at the same time? With the
Right.
presumption that air coming in from the outside is for
It's
some reason
the better air.
keeping yes the better air. And there's manufactured materials, engineered materials in all types of homes, and if there's a lot of air leakage, it's simply bringing all those toxins into the home. So a fresh air machine is going to have benefits in a leaky home or a highly efficient home, but a fresh air machine doesn't really protect the indoor air environment unless it's able to provide balanced ventilation. And we can only provide a balanced ventilation with an airtight envelope. Ultimately, keep the toxins outside.
Right.
And at this point, we're in a situation where our fresh air machine can take care of the environment for us. Humidity is known to be only healthy if we're in between 40 to 60% range. It could be as low as 35, so 35 to 60%. We really need a highly oxygenated environment as well. And when I think about oxygen being in a highly oxygenated environment, most homes have a lot more carbon dioxide than they should. It's known that most people's bedrooms without fresh air machines installed are sleeping in conditions where bedroom air could be 1,200 to 2,000 parts per million. To put that into perspective, outside air is approximately 400 parts per million.
Yeah. Wow.
And this is a really big thing for staying healthy in general, ultimately detoxing the body. Anyone who's done research on longevity or optimal health, brain health, knows that the glymphatic system
Yes.
is the detox mechanism of our brains. And the glymphatic system is only active during deep sleep. And if we're sleeping in an environment where there's a lot of carbon dioxide, our bodies are going to be in a high stress mode while we're sleeping and simply not able to detox. And that carries into the next day. Often people will wake up after a full night's sleep, but still feel tired.
Right.
And this is an indication where there's either a lot of toxins in the home or simply not enough oxygen and way too much carbon dioxide.
Yeah. So it's so true. And we can't stress enough about the importance of good quality sleep and oxygenating. Like if you think of if there's not enough oxygen in the bedroom, it at some point starts to equate to sleep apnea, where, if we're not oxygenating well in our sleep, like you said, we're not detoxing our brain or our bodies, but also, all of one of the things I ask now, I'm going to dig into air quality in the bedroom too. Often people with sleep apnea wake up tired too, because they just haven't been getting enough oxygen. But I could see that kind of fine line in there, because the concept is the same. Our brain needs oxygen, our heart, it's so important. So I take it you're not living in a log home now.
No, not in a log home.
Okay.
Yes, I'm personally get the privilege of living in our demonstration home.
Nice.
But,
I've seen
we've-
photos of that. It's gorgeous.
Oh, nice. Yes, and we work with customers all across North America. There's big demand for passive houses. We have houses in over 30 states and six of the Canadian provinces. And we are
Wow.
really here. Ultimately, the mission of our company is to provide solutions for people to get into an affordably built passive house. Now, a passive home will come with a slight incremental cost compared to traditional buildings, but that incremental cost is limited to 10%, or it should be limited to 10% to keep an affordable building or an affordable budget in place. The
Gotcha.
great thing about a passive home is even with the incremental 10%, if it's as high as that, the savings are instantly offset
Right.
with the reduction in operational cost
Yeah.
and the savings in utilities. So passive houses are not on any gas or propane. Really, a lot of our customers that are coming from a home that has been operated on propane end up into a situation where they're actually saving money designing and building their own passive house. And we all know energy continues to go up every year.
Yeah.
A passive house, when you compare a traditional home to a passive building, from an energy bill perspective, approximately 90% of the energy bill in most conventional homes is dedicated to the heating and cooling system. Or in a
Wow.
passive house, 90% of the energy is just for the appliances of the home.
That's
Only
incredible.
only 10% of the hydro bill or the electric bill is dedicated to the heating and cooling systems. So passive houses, as long as they are using an air source heat pump system, they will always be in a situation where cost of heating and cooling is less than $300 a year, regardless of where the house is, if it's in humid Florida or freezing cold Alaska.
That's incredible. And so for somebody who's a little bit of a princess when it comes to overheating easily, like you really can keep the houses cool.
Yeah, so one of the benefits with the airtight envelope and a lot of insulation is the house keeps the heat inside the home during the winter when the home is being heated and
Nice.
keeps all that heat outside the home in the summertime. Now, that said, heat waves are becoming more predominant,
Mhm.
regardless of where we live in the summer months. And if it is well above room temperature at nighttime, then that heat is obviously going to mitigate into a passive house. But the cooling, so it's important that there's air conditioning systems, that we have air conditioning
Okay.
design in the home, but very little energy goes towards keeping the house cooled. So people, for example, would only need to keep their air conditioner on for somewhere between 3 to 4 hours a day instead of 18 to 20
Sure.
hours a day, or potentially
Or
even all day
24.
long. Yeah.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but it's interesting on that note is passive houses are becoming real popular in Australia for this reason, for reasons of a home that is super easy to cool. A lot of locations where they're building passive in Australia, I've learned, are in areas where the nighttime temperatures don't drop below 30 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit at night. So
Wow.
houses that are really there to protect the homeowners in all types of conditions.
And for somebody who, I'm going to focus on the healthy home piece because I know you're doing both together. Actually, let me ask, is there such a thing? Are there companies building passive homes, passive houses that wouldn't pass your health test? Like, does passive equate to healthy always?
No, it does not. Great question, actually. So
Yeah.
that brings up the point how building with a certified system is most important. And I guess what stems from your further or your previous comment, Julie, about the more energy efficient we make a home, sometimes it's not the healthiest home.
Right.
And is if it all goes back to the vapor open qualities of the building. If a builder was to really focus on the air tightness and the insulation, but isn't using a system that is modeled and proven to be vapor open, then that house is going to have a lot of health impacts, and it could potentially be the worst house you want to live in if it's going to allow mold to grow in the walls. And the problem with mold is we're not aware that it's a problem until it's a big
Till it's a
problem.
problem.
And
Yeah.
then there's a big cost involved into renovating or retrofitting the space.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure, everyone that's listening needs to make sure that they're using a certified system. So Passive House is going with a company that has certified their product before is ultimately that proof. We provide our customers with some performance guarantees that they are going to receive a package that meets the standard. And we do that by proving our houses have been certified before, and also providing with the professional energy modeling tools that confirm the building system is both vapor protected and, of course, protected to use very little energy for heating and cooling purposes.
Yeah. Oh, so amazing. I'm guessing, I would imagine, that if the goal is passive, healthy home, the maybe path of least resistance and cost would be starting new. Is that accurate?
Yes, starting new. We've built for a number of customers that have come to the fruition. It's less costly to build new rather than rebuild. The problem with renovations and retrofits is it's almost impossible to get a fixed contract from renovation companies, and fair enough, because they can't see what's in the wall, they can't see what's in the roof until exterior finishes or interior finishes start to be removed from the home.
Right.
Most municipalities have construction recycling facilities in place where all the materials that are recyclable can be involved in the deconstruction of a home and then building new. That said, there is a retrofit model for Passive House. It is possible to retrofit a home. It is possible to make any house vapor open and airtight with the right systems in place, but that does always involve either removing all of the interior finish or all of the exterior finish.
Okay.
Well, if an older home has to go through that renovation, I think it's good people look into both options. But building new is the only real way where you're going to guarantee to build for a certain budget and be guaranteed with a proven result.
Yeah, which is great. And I mean, you guys are empowering people. Can you explain a little bit about how you all work, like what the different options are? Say I'm listening to this podcast, I'm in Colorado, and I'm like, wow, this sounds amazing. I have a piece of land. Like, how do you? I know it's not just one avenue, right? To work with you guys. How does that work?
Yeah. So thanks for asking. We try to provide a couple options to allow anyone to build affordable passive house. So we ultimately, where we provide value is providing a pre-certified package, which could either be a material package where a homeowner would either build themselves if they have construction experience, or hire a carpenter that's familiar with double wall construction. And we can send a material package, which is there with all the pre-certified materials. And once that house is built, an air tightness test is the only test that has to be done to guarantee the performance. Okay. Now, we do provide a builder's handbook, almost 100 pages long, full of pictures and illustrations to make that happen. We as a second option for customers that either don't have a carpenter in their area or the experience to build, we offer prefabricated buildings.
Which I think is awesome.
Where we send a supervisor to the site to work with a local contractor And we do provide pricing, advertised pricing right on our website, on our podcast page, which is again, EcoBuilt, EKOBUILT.com/podcast. We provide access to over 75 passive house plans where anyone can go onto our website and have access to these designs and costs associated with them. So pretty simple to figure out what design is going to meet someone's budget. We also are able to easily take any customer ideas. So about 50% of our customers do provide us their own floor plans that they might have either worked with another architect or designer on, and then we will provide cost for a passive house, certified passive home, weather-tight shell system. We don't include any exterior finishes, interior finishes, or mechanicals in our system. Those are items where customers are going to receive the greatest value working with local contractors.
Gotcha.
But we provide a lot of savings within our system. We have a lot of customers, even though we're in the eastern part of Canada. We have a lot of customers in California, just as an example. The Altadena fire from a couple of years ago, a lot of customers have come on board, and we've been customers' best cost option. We really have an economies of scale model where we're able to design our system, provide all the materials for a better cost than anyone would be able to ultimately
start from scratch.
Their own materials to make it happen.
Yeah, amazing. It's really incredible because again, so often, something that may be eco-friendly isn't health-friendly. I think and some of it is language. So one of the reasons I'm asking the pointed questions I am is because when it comes to food and things like that, I call it greenwashing. Like there's marketing language that, buzzwords that people use. And so I really want listeners to understand the difference between what you guys are doing at EcoBuilt and, maybe they're a company down the street that they've heard of that may build passive homes or eco-friendly homes. And so that was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to dig in on some of those questions. It's just like anything, right? Like we need to really do our homework too. Like if you're thinking of taking on a big project like building a healthy passive home, it's worth some time in research and really understanding what you're getting into and that are you going to get, like you said, are you going to get the product you were hoping for at the end of the day is what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's right. When it comes to I heard you say greenwashing, and this is another problem in the construction industry, right? Because it's in terms of energy efficiency or green building, everyone wants to be in a more energy efficient home, and every builder wants to communicate how they're building an efficient home. Where the problems come into place is most of the language isn't quantified.
Right.
So if we're going to say how much energy efficient we're going to build the house, we need to quantify that, and it can only be quantified with a modeling software that produces an energy usage of the home at the end of the day. So interviewing builders to really find out how they are quantifying that and what results they're providing, how they're going to keep the home healthy with respect to vapor open assemblies, and how they're really going to guarantee their product to provide a proven result is one of the biggest problems. So even from a building code perspective, again, building code, it's spelled out in pretty much every building code right across North America. Specific even a building code result needs a certain amount of air tightness, and 3 air changes per hour, which is a test that proves the home experiences no more than 3 ACH per hour, meaning the house is allowed to leak all of the volume of air. Sounds crazy, but up to 3 times every hour. But most homes aren't tested, and a lot of code built homes could be as leaky as a 3 or 10 air changes per hour. But one of the reasons why studies that have shown many new houses are experiencing mold problems is because houses even built to a reasonable degree of air tightness for most builders, which could be between 1.5 to 3 air changes per hour, are ultimately leaky enough where they're still letting a lot of moisture in, and
Gotcha.
using construction systems that aren't vapor open are always going to put that house into a situation where it has no choice but to develop mold. There is, that said, there is a little bit of air leakage in a passive house still. It's impossible to get it down to zero,
Sure.
but 0.6 air changes per hour is that standard. And
Wow. That's a big difference.
it's huge, yes. So it really, at this level of air tightness, the heat coming off appliances in the home, even heat coming off of our bodies. It's known the human body is approximately the equivalent of a 60 to 100 watt light bulb. And when you're in a passive house, the number of occupants in the home and the heat coming off the appliances is part of the energy inputs, which is able to reduce demand, believe it or not, on the heating system. And it's all goes back to the big reasons, a combination of all parts of the system that end up resulting in a highly energy efficient home, which it costs less than $300 a year for all heating and cooling purposes.
That's wild. What size home are you talking about?
Well, it could be any, really any house from 1,000 square feet up to 3,000 square feet.
Really? Wow.
Has an equivalent amount of energy demand. So the bigger home, so we can think of a passive house. Often I think of the analogy, a high performance thermos. If we compare a Yeti thermos, for example, to a hardware store thermos, two totally different grades of insulation for your coffee mug. And a passive house is the equivalent of a high performance thermos, a house that's designed to hold heat or hold the air conditioning during the summer months, and very little loss. The fresh air machines that are installed are highly efficient. So even though the house is constantly bringing in fresh air and constantly exhausting stale air, in freezing cold winter conditions, there's high heat recovery connected to these systems. So these systems are able to ultimately extract 90% of the heat energy from the stale air and transfer it to the incoming cold air in the wintertime. So houses, the passive homes have a fresh air inlet coming into washrooms and living rooms, all of the living spaces of the building. And because of the heat recovery, the air is ultimately pre-warmed even during the wintertime.
Wow.
And it's a big part of how the house can stay comfortable, draft free, and provide ultimate comfort.
All right, Paul, I'm ready for a new home. I'm sold. Seriously, like you had me at fresh air. It's like, and you guys, I have to say too, because you have so many resources on the website, and even which does go with the passive home, but just as somebody who loves design and you have great like ideas for use of space, right? And efficiency in that way too, of giving us our creature comforts, but things are laid out in a way that we're not wasting space, I guess. We're reducing the waste, even of space in the home, unnecessary space in the home, which I really appreciate. So there's lots of fun stuff to explore on the website for sure.
Absolutely. When but part of you're touching on the affordability,
Yeah.
design items that we like to focus on. So since COVID, the cost of construction is substantially higher. It it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to build any house
Yeah.
when you factor in all the expenses, and it doesn't cost much more to build passive because all the incremental costs are strictly in the building envelope of the home.
Right. Yeah. It's so incredible. So we're at the point of the conversation where listeners are leaning in because they know I'm going to ask you for one step they can all take today to either support or improve their health. And it could be anything you want.
Well, I think the biggest thing is to really understand what the air quality is like in the home. So doing the Hertz Me Too test, also radon, carbon monoxide are known as a couple of the silent killers out there. So like knowing what your radon levels are like, knowing what your carbon dioxide level is like. There are simple devices. There's one device called the Swidget, which replaces a light switch. So
Oh, cool.
it is ultimately a switch with an air quality monitor
Uh-huh.
that goes in the light switch location, which can monitor the humidity and the carbon dioxide levels. But the big ones are mold. Is there any mold in the home? That's what the Hertz Me Too test is for. Getting an air quality monitor to figure out what your humidity and carbon dioxide levels are like is the next thing, and hiring an energy auditor to come in and find out how leaky the home is. So I think really that's where it starts. Understanding what is the air quality like in the home, and if you're experiencing any health problems, uh, fatigue, general fatigue, sinus, constant sinus infections, headaches, low grade fever, morning grogginess. This is something to do with the air quality. And if we fix the home, we can fix the body,
Yeah.
because our bodies are under stress constantly throughout the day. Our bodies are constantly detoxing themselves, whether it's conditions we experience outside the home or through what we're eating or drinking. And the only real way, since we do spend 90% of our time indoors to detox the body properly, is to put ourselves in a situation where the body can repair. And we can only
Yes.
repair if we're not dealing with environmental stresses that could be in the home.
I love that. I always say, make your home your haven, and that's really what we're talking about because we need that safe space for the body to do its healing, and we all have enough stressors as it is, and environmental stressors everywhere we go. If we can control, I was thinking about that when you were describing it's about empowerment and control, right? If you know your house is breathing well but is also really well insulated, and it's like it puts you in charge of things from temperature to moisture to all of those things. So much amazing information. I so appreciate not only what you're doing, and I'm not kidding. You'll see. I don't know. We don't have any plans to move soon, but we do have some property, so maybe we'll just build another house. You will be hearing from me at some point down the road, but I am just so grateful for you taking the time to educate us and things we can do, and things we should be all paying attention to help ourselves heal and or stay healthy.
Well, it's amazing. No, thank you. And for all the listeners as well, we do try to, we are committed. We are a passion driven company,
Yeah,
and
for
we do
sure.
offer free consultations. If anyone wants to send an inquiry through our website and connect, we'd love to talk and see how we can maybe provide a solution and understand your situation. And but on our podcast page, ecobuilt.com/podcast. We have a list of builder questions, as I mentioned earlier, access to a bunch of designs. If you have your own vision, then send it to us as well. And it would be great to connect with anyone that really wants to be on a path for building and living and healthy and optimizing their living environment.
Amazing. Paul, thank you so very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Julie.
My pleasure. For everyone listening, remember you can get the links and the show notes and transcripts by visiting inspiredliving.show. I hope you had a great time and enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to Inspired Living with Autoimmunity, hosted by Julie Houghton, your autoimmune coach. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone in your life who needs to hear it. For the complete show notes, links, transcripts, and everything discussed today, visit inspiredliving.show. You can also send in your questions there to be answered by Julie in a future episode. That's inspiredliving.show. Remember, it's time to take your power back.